Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Science of Turning Back Time podcast. I'm your host, Charmaine Shepherd, and functional medicine practitioner and founder of Cognition, where we are passionate about helping people protect their brain health, optimize their well being, and live not just longer, but better. Today's guest is someone who completely challenges our assumptions about what's possible as we get older. In 2025, Carole Munro, or better known to many as Scottish Supergran, became World HYROX Champion in her age category. It's an extraordinary achievement that most people, regardless of age, could only dream of. But what fascinates me isn't simply that Carole won a world championship. It's how she continues to live with energy and resilience and purpose and that infectious enthusiasm for life. So, as a functional medicine practitioner, I spend much of my time talking about the science of healthy aging and nutrition and movement, muscle building, sleep, metabolism, and risk of chronic disease. And although those things matter enormously, and the research continues to show us that many aspects of aging are far more modifiable than we once believed. But science is only one part of the story. Sometimes the greatest lessons come from people who are living those principles every single day. So today I want to explore not only what Carole does to stay so fit and vibrant, but also how she thinks. And also, what can the rest of us learn, not just about living longer, but living better. So welcome to the show, Carole. Really happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit what you've been up to today already. What's been in terms of your fitness? What have you been doing today?
Well, I've been into the sports classes and I did a stretch class because although I keep fit, I don't really stretch enough and the body needs to stretch. So I physically book a class so I know I have to do it. So this morning I got up, got ready, went to the class, did that. And then I had to go somewhere to do not an interview, but it was for funding. I did that this morning and now I'm here and I've taken my motorbike because it's cheaper on the petrol.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Carole, so people look at you and they maybe see someone who seems to have found the secret to aging well. But I wonder, when you look in the mirror, do you still feel like the same person you were when you were 30?
Yeah, I don't feel any different. Even when I come back from the championships, it was a real buzz. And on the day, the minute, it was fantastic. And then you come home and you come back to reality, you go to bed, you get up, you eat, you exercise. But I just think I'm normal. I don't think anything of it. It's just something I've always done. And I've always looked at people. When I had my hips done, remember sitting after a park run and watching all these people with their walking sticks and hobbling along. And I just said to my friend, I'm not going to be like that. So no matter what they're throwing at me, and I've had a few things, I just have this mental ability to keep going, and step over it. Just think, well, what next can I get? So that's kind of my life.
I think the mind is so powerful. From what you're saying there, the most important element really is the strength of your mind.
Yeah.
It's that determination to keep going. Because for those of our listeners who aren't aware of what HYROX is, can you explain a little bit,
Well,
audience?
it was 2023 and my son, who is a personal trainer and fitness person, asked me just after I think I had my second hip, I can't remember, because I've had 3 hip replacements. But he said to me, there's a competition, Mom, you fancy doing it? And we've always had this pact that whatever he does, I can do better or vice versa. 2023, he said, there's a competition. I went, yeah, okay, go for it. And I didn't know what it was, but, whatever. So I Googled it and then I realized that it was in weights, which I'm normally fit, but I don't really lift weights. But so I started training harder and it was a mixed double for HYROX. And what it is you run 8 kilometers and every kilometer you do a fitness station, like 1,000 meters on a ski erg. You pull a sled, push a sled, you do burpees, you do kettlebells, you walk with kettlebells, you do lunges, and you do a rowing machine for 1,000 meters. And then if you survive all that, you end up doing 100 wall balls. So you've got a weight of 4K for the ladies and 6 for the men, and you have to squat and throw it up about roughly just under 3 meters. And then if you finish all that, you've survived.
Well, and not only did you survive, you you won, right? Tell us a
Well,
little
I
bit
did
about
a
that
solo in
experience.
March, just after I had my hip in September. I had my hip done. And there was a guy from the Netherlands, a Jim Malinka, and he messaged me and asked if I wanted to do a doubles with him. And that's a mixed double, so that's men's weights. And I said to him, I'm just going to wait to get a hip replacement. And he went, but you've had two, a third one will be easy. So any road, I competed in March, just doing a fun one, so my son had said. So I did the fun one in March and I qualified for Stockholm. And about 2 weeks later, I did one in London at the EMEA Championships with Jim, and we broke the world record and we qualified for Stockholm. So I had two competitions to do.
That's quite incredible, especially so quickly after your surgery as well. So it means that you really bounced back very quickly from surgery. And I think one of the things we know is that if you go into that hip surgery and you're already quite fit and well, chances are your recovery is going to be a lot quicker. And you are going to bounce back from that faster. Do you find that was your experience as well?
Yes, on my first hip replacement, I think that was 2019, just before COVID, I was fit, but I wasn't strength training. And I've realized now that you need strength, not just to be fit, but strength as well. So I took, I think, 7 months to recover from the first one. I couldn't walk. The pain was terrible. It just went on. And then when I got the next one, I realized I had to do more exercise. But this one, although it was quite painful, I won't go into detail, but I took surgeon said 3 months you'll be back training because I was so fit, but it took 4 months, and then I thought maybe I should have more time out, but I began to feel better and I just knew I had that goal to get better. And I think a lot of people that have hip replacements, knee replacement, they just think, oh, well, that's it. I can't do anything now. I can't exercise. I mean, I get told, at your age, should you be doing that? You've had 3 hip replacements. I still get it to this day, but it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Oh, yeah,
I love it because your son is a fitness expert, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that you kind of know how to do the exercises in the correct way.
yeah,
And, I think that's really important is to have the right technique
yeah.
when you're doing things.
Yeah, you need the right technique. When I come back from, I think it was Chicago last year, I was in with all these athletes and I'm thinking, well, I'm just a granny, from Turriff in the middle of nowhere, and I'm competing with all these athletes and I don't see myself as an athlete. I thought I'll go and get a personal trainer. Now my son's a personal trainer and he's going, what do you need one for? You could do it yourself. But because I didn't have the confidence and thought I'll get a personal trainer, but it was actually good getting him. I had him for about 6 months, and he taught me precisely how to lift weights, which I didn't have a clue. So after that, once I picked up how to lift them, I then cancelled him because he was quite expensive. And as I get free personal training from my son, I thought this is the way to go. So my son writes me a program, which I try and follow. And I go to a local gym and just do, follow the program.
Are there days where you just don't feel like it?
Oh
And
yeah,
on
yeah, nearly. Well, I ran 5. I did hill reps last night with the Turriff Running Club. I've got this. My son says it's stubborn. I don't know if it's determination or competitive, but I've just got this oomph. And when I do something, I try and do it 100%. I maybe not get it, but that's my goal. So I was running last night with all these young people. And they're going, you do HYROX now? Yeah. And they couldn't keep up with me. And I'm like so competitive to beat them. And then I woke up this morning thinking, gosh, I could drop down dead. But then once you get up, have a shower, and here I am. But I do have days that I think, and I have arthritis as well, which can be quite painful. But, do I give up? Nope, keep going.
I love that attitude. So tell me, at what age did you feel you really came into yourself?
Well, 23, because I've always done it in the army. I played squash, I've done karate, Scottish Championship, and then my son did karate and he was a junior Scottish Championship. So we've always kept reasonably fit, and I had a late child and I used to take him on the bicycle and run with him in the buggy. So I've always kind of done something. My granny used to say I've got ants in my pants. I can't sit still. But I've always and I joined the army and I remember someone saying to me, don't volunteer for it. And I thought, no, I'm going to volunteer. So I just volunteer for anything. That's that's the way I go.
Do you think as you've aged, has aging taken things away from you or given you more? What's your feeling on aging?
Well, apart from you looking terrible and my hair's going grey,
I
apart
think you
from
look pretty amazing actually for your age.
dyed my hair. That was the one thing when I went to the HYROX the first time, 2022 it was. I went to look to see what I'd volunteered for. I sat and looked at everybody. I probably shouldn't say this, but I just looked at everybody doing it, especially the females. I mean, the guys were good because they had their tops off, but the females, their hair was grey and they didn't have a supportive bra. So I said to my son, said, "Have you learned anything?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm going to dye my hair and get a good bra." That was the two things to keep me going. But apart from that, old age, apart from the number, doesn't stop me. I mean, I'm 73 this year and I've still got a motorbike. I still play with the grandchildren. They are brilliant. So I just keep going.
I think it definitely is a number in our minds, and I think,
Yeah,
and I do see that so often when, with my patients as well, I'll have people come in and go, well, I am 57, so what do you expect? Of course. And then I'll have other people come in who are in their 70s and 80s and just have that youthfulness.
yeah.
So I do think that state of mind is really, really important. Has your definition of success changed over the decades?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of matter of factly, I just do it and that's it. It's great doing something and achieving something, and then tomorrow's another day. It kind of lasts for that day, and then I look for something else. That's the way I go.
There's something that, because I think a lot of us, we spend a lot of time when we're younger worrying about things. I'm curious whether there's things that you may be worried about in your 40s or 50s that now seem completely irrelevant.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was born 53, so my father was in the war. So, and then my parents kind of kept saying to me, you can't do that. You should be married, have children. You shouldn't have a motorcycle. Yeah, they kept you really tied back. And then I went and joined the army, and that was the sort of the leash. I was let go into this world that I could do things, but it was hard because in the back of my mind, you've always got somebody saying, "Should you be doing that? Can you do that?" So now, as I got older, I just got better at it, and I agreed with everybody, and then just ignored them. But I feel that society nowadays, I mean, I look at the young 70-year-olds coming through the ranks at HYROX. They're fit, and they are so they've got a better mindset. They don't think, "Oh, could I do that?" They just do it. And that's the way I try and teach the grandchildren, that you don't say, "Can I do it?" You try, and just do it. So that's kind of where I work.
Do you feel mentally kind of younger, or just exactly your age? What does your mind feel like if you had to put a number on what your mental age feels like?
Well, my mental age, I asked my shoe size, and that's a 5. Oh, I wouldn't go into my mental state. I mean, I am with people that are younger than me, probably 20 years in their 50s. And I look at them and I try and encourage them without forcing it in them, saying, "Oh, you're 50 now and this is what you look like now. You add 20 years on. If you don't do something about it, you're going to be 70 and probably in a wheelchair, pulled walking stick." So I try, and encourage, and I do get a lot of feedback, which I really love more than winning the championships. People saying, "Because of you, I'm back in the gym." And they're like young, 40, 50, and they go, I'm not doing what you do." And I went, no, no, no. But I says, small weights, just going for a walk. The way I look at it is, they're in their 50s. When they get to 70, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, especially in your 50s, this is a really important time to
Oh, definitely.
work on fitness and to start developing that strength as well, because it is going to make such a difference to what's going to be happening in your 60s and 70s. So, if science offered you the body of a 25-year-old tomorrow, would you take it?
Definitely, and I'd book every HYROX for the next 40 years. I'll keep going. My body has been through quite a lot. 3 hip replacements, carpal tunnel, arthritis, I could play the violin, and go on. But I've just got this determination and I went to the dentist and she said, "Oh, it's quite funny." She said, your gums are red. I think you've got diabetes or high blood pressure." And what else did she throw at me? Vitamin B deficiency. And I nearly got home and cried. And then by the time I got home, I thought, right, okay, fine, whatever. I went and got checked. There was nothing wrong with me. What I was doing was I was brushing my teeth too hard, that I was including my gums and practically holding my lips, and it was fine. But, for that sort of 20 seconds or a minute, I really thought, oh, great, I've got diabetes, what next? But I just think you've just got to keep going, whatever they throw at you.
Yeah, and maybe it's interesting you were brushing your teeth too hard. Maybe I think it's kind of the way you approach life with everything. Just go all in.
Yeah, I'll go all in because it was something so simple. Somebody said to me, and I've actually, this is great, the grandkids will love this. I've actually got children's toothbrushes because they're much smaller.
Sure. And
Yeah, and they're much smaller, and I wish I'd done this years ago. So I found the answer to that was a smaller toothbrush and not go hell for leather when I'm brushing my teeth.
what would you say is the biggest myth about getting older?
I don't know. People, well, like I say, when I do things, now it's not too bad because I'm in the papers a lot or on the radio or whatever, and people are saying, wow. But I just think, like I say, people will say to me, how old are you? You've got 3 hips, you've arthritis. Should you really be doing this? And I go, well, my body seems to tell me when it's had enough. And if it does, I mean, sometimes my son will phone me from London and do a WhatsApp and catch me lying on my bed watching Netflix, watching some documentary or a HYROX program. And so I do rest, I do rest when my body will tell me, hello, give it a rest. But I just think all these myths, you've just got to let them go.
I think it is an important point because recovery is a really important part of kind of keeping the body in balance. So it is easy to also just go to the extremes of each. But in order for the body to fully repair between your training, that recovery is important. So it's good to hear that you listen to the body, you hear those signals and you do give the body the time to repair and recover.
I did take a while to do that though, because when I was in my 50s and no, it must have been 60s, I started triathlons and I would actually run a triathlon a day and then not have a break. I know I run a triathlon every day and then on the Sunday, I would do the competition. And my son went, Mum, you're doing it wrong. You're not resting your body. And I go, I do when I sleep. And he went, no, Mum, that's not the way. So it took me, because I didn't have that information, it took me a while. And I remember one day, lay off and never did every day, did every other day, had the rest on the Saturday. And I just flew through the triathlon. And that's when it clicked. So now I do have rest days, although sometimes I read his 12-week program and I kind of got muddled up. And I blame the age then. I keep saying, well, I'm a pensioner and I'm old. I didn't read it right. But you really need to rest your body if you're doing it as hard as I do.
So you do pull the age card sometimes?
Oh, definitely. If I can get away with it. I remember coming back from Chicago last year. And I'd been in Chicago, come back to London, back to Aberdeen, and I was getting on the bus with my suitcase. And this woman, probably in her 50s, said, I'll give you a hand with your bag. I went, yeah. Felt a bit guilty, but I thought, no, that's fine. She can put my luggage. No, I will play the old card if I can get away with it. Yeah.
What advice would you give your 40-year-old self?
I wish I'd done this sooner. But there again, we didn't have a lot. HYROX wasn't invented then. I wish sooner I had exercised more. I did exercise, but I didn't have the knowledge. But I think people in their 40s should train weights or not heavy weights, but just, you should do something because by the time you get to 70, if you haven't done anything, the body will repel and fight you. Whereas I just kind of slot into it, Yeah.
Is there something else apart from your exercise that you do that people think you're too old for?
Oh,
Your
everything.
motorbike, actually, your motorbike.
Motorbike. The motorbike, 70. I see it on the Facebook, somebody saying, oh, I'm 60 something, I've got a motorbike, and people give them jip. But I've done it all my life. I've had bikes for 30 years and I swim in the sea before it was wild swimming. I've done it from 2017 and everybody was, oh, you're mad swimming in the sea. How can you do it? And now there's like thousands of us swimming in the sea and we actually encourage people to do it. And I still to this day go, oh, what am I doing? What am I really doing swimming in the sea with a jellyfish? But it's such a, I don't know what it is, but it's such a great feeling when you come out, Not when you go in, but when you come out, you've got such a high and a buzz. And we've got a lot of people with anxiety and, well, I've got hip replacements and it's brilliant to cool them down and get me going. But yeah, practically everything I do, people question me, but I've got used to it now. And I just go, oh yeah, yeah, and then let it go, you know.
Don't let it bother you. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of research on cold water swimming and the immune system and repair as well. So after exercise, recovery and repair.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that lovely buzz you get when you get out.
It is brilliant. People, I think, are scared to do things, you know. Well, at my son's club, HYROX had just started, and when I got the first prize, I gave him my flag. So he's got it up in his gym, and there's all these other flags that are second place and third, and I'm the only one aged 70 to 74 in his gym. So when he's training people and they all complain, and they're all young in their 30s, he goes, look, that's my mom, 70 to 74. So I bet you people don't like me in London. But they all come up to me and they go, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have done a HYROX. And then even in Chicago, there was 2 girls from England and they were hesitant to do it. And Stuart went, Mum, go and speak to them. And when I told them what I had, wise and age-wise, they were like, brilliant. So after they finished, they just thoroughly enjoyed it and said, that's it. That's what we're going to do, you know?
That must be the most rewarding part of what you do is actually the inspiring and challenging other people around their own beliefs, around what they can do.
Yeah, that is the biggest thrill I get, I must admit, because I've got the trophy, I've got the medals, and they're fine. But when you get people that come up and say, you know, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. And I had another one on Instagram, and she messaged me and said, you know, I followed you and now I'm in the gym and now I'm going to do a HYROX. And it's having that confidence, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not really great confident person, but once I get that mindset, that's it. I'm on the road, you know, to go for it. But I just think people shouldn't think, they should just do it.
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to encourage all of our listeners and the audience to really to look at your Instagram and follow you on Instagram because it is very inspiring. You know, I find it very inspiring myself. So yeah, so I you know, just before we end, a couple of things. Your favorite decade so far?
I would say no, believe it or not. I mean, I've loved all what I've done, you know, been in the army, done triathlons, and Tough Mudders. I've even took up knitting, which is nothing wrong with knitting. I've done crocheting and I've done everything. But I think since 2023, since my son foolishly asked his old mother to do a HYROX, and it's fantastic because when I'm in Stockholm, I'm with all these people of the same, you know, they all do HYROX. And then when I come back to Turriff, people go, what's a HYROX? What do you do? And I have to explain to them, you know, and but when you're with all these people, it's a buzz. I love 70s to 74.
There's something really powerful about finding your tribe as well.
Yeah.
And finding, you know, having people around you that get
Yeah.
it and that know why you're doing it and support you and you know are in that same kind of journey with you. So, you know, I
Yeah.
think that community is a really important
It's
element.
I love it completely. I mean, when my son does something in London, he now commentates a lot, but I would look after the grandchildren and just being in that environment with people that are doing fitness, it's just such a different, rather than be, and I don't mean it horribly, but rather than being a group that are all, oh, what have we got to do? You know, I don't feel well. Shall I get up today? But this is a group that want to do it. And it really isn't brilliant to go in by, you know.
Yeah, and I think also I'm just thinking for your grandchildren, it must be very inspiring as well, you know, for them to see the possibility of what it's like to get older, but also for you, you know, I think having those, you know, grandkids sometimes give you purpose. You know, it's one of the things that gives us a reason to want to age better and stay well for longer.
Well, I think on my Instagram portrait thing says something to inspire my grandchildren to do better. I try and pull the old cards, you know, when they want to jump on my back and I give them you know, on my shoulders and I go, Granny's old. And they go, no, we know what you do. But they're all encouragement. One does gymnastics. The other one plays football. Easy, the younger one wants to do anything Granny does. And now the whole family who weren't really fit are all in the gym now trying to keep up with me. And my younger son, is now said he would like to do a doubles with me. So there's no stopping us. It's just that mindset. The kids are busy. We just keep going.
Yeah, but I also think that, what a wonderful gift to give your grandkids, to give them, that love of exercise and that love of movement as well.
Yeah, definitely. Emily comes back from school and says the teacher's called you a beast, Granny. And she went, is that terrible? And I went, well, no, not really, because she thought a beast was horrible. I says, no, they just mean that I'm like fit, really fit, but it's their way of saying it. She says, I thought they were calling you a beast. And I went, well, they were, but they weren't. But it encourages them because they've now got a few medals. I mean, they're 4 and 9. And they've got a few medals on there, not as much as mine, but they've got a few trophy medals. So they're going that way. And life's for the living, isn't it?
So yeah, I mean, I really, I've really enjoyed this conversation,
Thank you.
and I think the thing is that age is inevitable, frailty isn't.
No.
And I think if we can encourage people to invest in their future self, to really, almost like you would put away a pension fund, when you start doing this in your 50s and 60s, you are, and actually, let me also say, you can start later in life. There are a lot of people who have only started in their 70s, so it's never too late.
No, we're never too late.
But even thinking about it from your 50s and 60s, it's kind of like putting away in your pension fund, right? It's preparing for the future and preventing that frailty that may come with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's the way to go because obviously in my day, we got married, had children, thought we'd be married all our life and never put away for a pension. And then I realised I ended up on my own, which I absolutely love. And then I say to my young son, you need to look your pension because once you retire, what you're going to do, sit and do nothing. And then everybody says, somebody's just retired and have died. And I think, oh gosh, So I always feel I'm on borrowed time because they maybe died in their 60s and I'm now into my 70s. But I do think we should look for the future. What do we want to do in the future and go for it?
So, Carol, for anyone just starting out, what would be your advice?
To have a better outlook on life. I mean, life is hard. We have to work, we pay a mortgage, we pay the bills, and it's terrible. So I think you have to find something, a hobby or something that you do enjoy. I think that's the best thing is you've got to find something that you enjoy doing because it's great working, it's getting the money, paying the mortgage. And then what you're going to do, it's like a rotation, you're doing it all your life and then you retire and your body's not fit because you've been stuck in this rut. I just think you've got to look for something you really enjoy doing it and fit it in wherever in your life you can.
I agree completely with that because I think sometimes people get so weighed down with the responsibility of, like you say, mortgages and work and raising a family and maybe aging parents and all of these things that they don't really take time for themselves. And it is so important, I think, for us to always step back a little bit and invest in ourselves as well. Because when you do that, you also affect everyone else around you. I'm just thinking of, in your case, your grandkids. They are the ones that are benefiting from having a healthy brand that's there to, have fun with them. I'm pretty sure you're fit enough to play with your grandkids.
Yeah, we go cycling and we run. Emily, and it's so funny because Emily's competitive, and she'll try and beat me on the bicycle. And even when we swim, I still beat her at swimming. But I've never let them beat me because I remember once years ago, I was with my grandson in London and I think he was about 5 and he went, Granny, I'll have a race. And I took off my jacket and my son goes, Mom. And I went, I'm not going to let him win. If he's going to win, he'll win. But now he's actually running faster than me. So I've got to give him the flag, He's bet his old granny.
I love that story. Carol, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I think one of the things I'll take away from this conversation is that healthy aging isn't really about trying to be younger. It's
No.
about continuing to invest in ourselves so that we can keep doing the things we love for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
You've reminded us that strength isn't just something we build in the gym, but it's built through the mind, really. So
Yeah.
through consistency and resilience and curiosity. And I think that willingness to keep showing up year after year, even when it gets tough.
Yeah.
So again, for our listeners, if you think this will inspire anyone that you know of, please feel free to share. And Carole, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.